How to read people in 5 seconds. No guesswork. I once stood in a room full of people and realized, within 5 seconds, I was the only one who didn't know what was really going on. Everyone smiled. Everyone nodded. But there was a current underneath, and I could feel it. Something was off. I just didn't have the language for it yet. And that's when it hit me. We're not taught how to read people. We're trained to listen to words, but power doesn't speak in words. It speaks in tension, glances, micromovements, and who laughs first. What I saw that day wasn't about friendliness or connection. It was power dynamics, a silent battle for position. And in that instant, I knew, if I didn't learn how to see through it, I'd be the one played, not the one playing. That moment became my Muta one, the first fracture in how I saw human nature psychology. The day I realized social survival skills don't start with charisma. They start with awareness. Reading people isn't magic. It's not guesswork. It's the opposite, it's precision. And it starts fast. Within 5 seconds, most people already reveal their emotional baseline. They'll try to hide it. But the body talks first. A subtle flinch, a jaw shift, how someone fills space or shrinks into it. The unspoken social rules show up before the conversation even begins. It's wild how much truth is packed into those first 5 seconds. The way someone stands when they don't know they're being watched. The way their eyes dart, toward the door, toward the most powerful person in the room, or toward themselves in a reflection. Game theory in real life isn't played on paper, it's played in posture. And most people don't even know they're playing. But some do. And those are the ones you need to watch out for. Because they've mastered manipulation tactics that look like empathy. They speak softly, listen attentively, mirror your words, but underneath, they're scanning for leverage. They're not just connecting, they're calculating. They know emotional intelligence isn't just a feel-good term, it's a weapon when used without conscience. I used to think reading people was about figuring out who was good or bad. But that's a child's game. The real question is, what game are they playing? And do they even know it? Or worse, are you the one playing their game without realizing it? Office politics tips won't help you here. Because most advice still assumes the surface is real. But the surface is curated. It's designed. The real currency is what's not said. Who interrupts whom? Who is comfortable with silence? Who changes tone when the boss walks in? Social hierarchy explained? Watch the feet, not the face. The body obeys the hierarchy before the mind catches up. There's a reason the quietest person in the room sometimes holds the most power. They don't need to signal status. They don't need to perform. But the insecure ones, they overcompensate. They speak too loud, laugh too long, linger too close. If you want to learn how to read people in 5 seconds, start by asking, who's at ease? Who's forcing it? Who's scanning the room for approval? The tragedy is, most people live entire lives without learning these things. And then they wonder why they're exhausted after every social interaction. It's not the people. It's the invisible games. It's psychological manipulation so subtle you think it's your fault. You think you're too sensitive. You think you're overreacting. But no, you're just feeling what others have learned to numb. You want to know how to win in life? Stop believing in what people say. Start watching what they reveal when they think no one is watching. That 1 second when they let the mask slip. That brief flicker of emotion when they lose control of the narrative. That's when you see the blueprint. That's when you know who's leading the dance and who's being dragged along. And here's the paradox. The better you get at reading people, the less you'll want to judge them. Because you'll see it for what it is, not malice, not manipulation for fun, but defense. Reaction. Trauma. Everyone's protecting something, even the manipulators, especially them. Street smart skills don't make you cynical. They make you sober. And that's the state you need if you want to survive without losing yourself. Because once you start seeing the mechanics, the emotional armor, the social scripts, the survival instincts dressed up as personality, you start realizing how much of what we call connection is just pattern matching. We meet someone, they mirror our energy, we feel understood. But what if they're just mirroring to gain trust? What if their friendliness is just a Trojan horse for control? It sounds harsh, until you remember how many times you've felt used and couldn't explain why. That's the cost of not reading people well. That's the cost of not knowing the rules of the invisible game. And that's why I started stripping it down. No more polite filters, just raw observation. Who talks and who listens? Who gets interrupted and who doesn't? Who changes behavior depending on who's watching? These aren't small things. These are the foundations of power. And once you learn to see them, you'll never unsee them. You'll start noticing the moment someone enters a room, the ripple they cause, or don't. You'll sense the tension in a forced laugh, the aggression behind a joke, the insecurity under confidence. And you'll learn to pause. Not to react, because reacting too soon is how you get played. That's the part no one tells you. The game doesn't punish ignorance, it punishes impulsiveness. When you're always trying to be liked, trying to be agreeable, trying to fit, you give away your edge. You become readable, controllable. The best manipulators don't need to dominate you. They just need you predictable. Once they can predict your emotional patterns, they can shape the outcome without you knowing it. And then you're not in the game. You're the board. But when you observe first, when you let the room reveal itself before you move, that's when the dynamic flips. People start revealing more than they meant to. Because most people are so used to being unseen, the moment they feel silence, they fill it with too much. They over-disclose. They try to win you over. And in doing so, they tell you who they are. This isn't about mistrust. It's about clarity. You're not hunting for lies. You're listening for the truth underneath performance. You're tuning into the survival strategies people learned to use, because deep down, everyone's protecting something. Some protect their pride. Some protect their past. Some protect a sense of control that's barely holding them together. And that's the real face of human nature psychology. We're not rational. We're not consistent. We're stories wrapped in defenses. And the sooner you accept that, the easier it gets to navigate life without drowning in disappointment. People aren't good or bad. They're adaptive. And if you don't know what they're adapting to, you'll misread their intentions every time. That's why Muta 1, that first unfiltered moment, is your best chance at seeing reality. Before they adjust, before they shapeshift, before they figure out what version of themselves works best on you. That moment when they're still reacting from instinct, that's the gold. That's the raw data. And most people miss it because they're too busy performing themselves. Reading people in 5 seconds doesn't mean you get everything. It means you get enough to not be blind. Enough to spot the pattern early. Enough to protect your energy before it's drained. Because that's the quiet cost of not knowing: emotional exhaustion, confusion, resentment. You walk away from an interaction feeling wrong, but can't explain why. That's the effect of subtle manipulation tactics you didn't see coming. Some people play victim as power. Some use politeness as a shield. Some keep you close just to keep control. And if you grew up in chaos or in a family that rewarded compliance, you'll be especially vulnerable. Because you've been trained to attune to others, but not to yourself. You read the room, but forget to read your own needs. And then you're the one who disappears in every interaction. So the real survival mindset isn't just about others. It's about you. It's about being able to hold your center while the world spins its narratives. It's about not collapsing into roles. Not reacting just because you were triggered. That's how to win in life, not by controlling people, but by refusing to be controlled. And it's not easy. Because the moment you start seeing clearly, you'll feel more alone. You'll see how much of life is theater. How much connection is conditional. How many relationships are just power exchanges disguised as love or loyalty. But the aloneness passes. Clarity stays. And clarity is the beginning of freedom. Once you stop needing people to be good, you start seeing them as they are. And in that moment, you're no longer shocked by betrayal. You're no longer thrown by rejection. You see it, note it, and move. Not cold, not heartless, just clean. Because when you can read someone in 5 seconds, you stop over-investing in the wrong 5 years. You stop mistaking charm for depth. You stop chasing validation from people who only value what you can offer them. And you start building alliances instead of attachments. You move with intention, not reaction. And maybe the most important part, you begin to read yourself, too. You start noticing when you fake it, when you shrink, when you exaggerate. You catch yourself using the same tactics you hated in others. And that's when it clicks. This isn't about learning a trick. It's about waking up. Most of us walk through life half asleep, reacting from wounds we haven't named. Reading people is just a doorway. The real work is what happens after. When you realize every game has a cost. Every pattern has a root. And every reaction you have is telling you something about where you're still unfree. So no, this isn't a party trick. This is a mirror. Not just for them, but for you. Because once you see the game, you can't go back. You either learn to play with awareness, or you keep losing by default. And sometimes the hardest part is realizing you were your own blind spot all along.